In December of 2008,
加拿大温哥华的冬天
the biggest snowstorm in 40 years hit Vancouver. Everything was blanketed,
皑皑瑞雪覆盖其中
and the snow created an image of wondrous beauty. Christmas and the New Year brought an air of celebration, and the alabaster landscape added to the feeling of magic. Whistler, a famous ski resort near Vancouver, was set to host the 2010 Winter Olympics. It attracts skiing enthusiasts from all over the world.
吸引着世界各地的滑雪爱好者慕名而来。
Meditation master Jin Bodhi is one such enthusiast.
滑雪的身影。
Another mountain, Cyprus, was also set to host events for the 2010 Winter Olympics. Cypress Mountain can be accessed from the city center in a short amount of time, and Master Jin Bodhi likes to ski there. As you stand at the apex, clouds float under your feet. The winter sun edges the clouds in golden lace. In the distance, snowy peaks and evergreen trees rise against the blue sky to form a gorgeous postcard. Plenty of snow in the winter predicts a good harvest. Meanwhile, students at the second level Bodhi Meditation Retreat were buzzing with excitement. Master Jin Bodhi had just flown into town. He didn't stop to rest before joining his students, who had come from all over the world seeking Dharma and truth. Thank you. This second level retreat has been hard work for us all. In such a big snowstorm, food choices are limited. It's especially tough for those who don't live in the city. Anyone cold and hungry? I'm not very articulate, as I didn't learn much at school. The weather is freezing, and you've all been too busy to buy food. However, a few of you are better off, the fasting ones. You don't feel hungry despite not eating. At home, when you cook or eat, mood plays an important role. Your mood, your emotions, communicates with every grain you cook and eat. Say happily to the food, "Thank you for filling my belly." It may seem miserable for the grain being eaten, but food serves its purpose. Food is eager to let you eat. If it could speak, it would say, "Eat me, please." When you approach food happily and gratefully, it will nourish you with health and joy. When you eat and cook with gratitude and happiness, food brings goodness into you. If one is angry during mealtime, indigestion results. One's stomach becomes upset. Have you noticed that? Many people experience it. Negative emotions cause food to get stuck in the stomach. They cause the nervous system to resist anything coming into the body, including the food you eat. So eating while angry always results in a blockage that will create problems. So cook and eat happily. Doing so is good for us. Feel happy while listening to music, so that you can fully enjoy it. Feel happy while you work. The positivity will prevent fatigue and promote creativity. When you work without fatigue and with enhanced creativity, what do you attract? A raise. Working while angry creates discord. The same as eating while angry. And it becomes hard to do your job well, right? A good mood is very important. To be happy, we need to understand that there is nothing in this world that we can't let go. No matter how you feel about things that have happened, they have happened. Even if you regret something, what's done is done. I hope you understand this logic. For example, a kung fu master who hasn't fought a real battle has the skills of walking up walls and hitting from a distance. But if his skills are untested by adversity, then he may get scared and lose confidence when faced with an enemy. He is not a real master then, as a real master should be able to always fully utilize his skills. If one's mental state is not happy and relaxed, it is impossible to access the full power of consciousness. Therefore, if you sit down to eat with a settled and happy heart, the food becomes alive in your consciousness. Cooked rice will seem to become sprouting seeds full of energy. There is life in the food you eat. After eating in this manner, with body and mind joyous and receptive, the food will be well digested and the nutrients absorbed. The nutrients in ordinary food, when properly absorbed, are the best healing agents for the body. If food gets stuck in the stomach and isn't excreted smoothly, negative elements get absorbed by the body. An illness can start to develop. So when you eat and work, or face your friends and family, take care to be generous and keep a happy heart, especially when dealing with people you dislike. If you can do this, then you're standing on higher mental ground, with a heart free of turmoil. Health, happiness, and longevity are the results of this approach. And if you have such a big, generous heart, then you never discriminate, deity-like. Would God love you then? Certainly. You would be the happiest and luckiest person in the world. On the contrary, the smaller one's heart is, the more trouble and suffering one experiences. Is a small-hearted person lucky? No. Regardless of intelligence, a person with a small heart, who is always self-interested, will experience the life of a narrow-minded person. Narrow-minded people suffer. They don't experience happiness because their self-interest gets in the way. This can be true of both men and women. Examples of narrow thoughts: he praised him but not me. I thought he was looking at me, but he told someone else that she's pretty. I hate him. I'm so embarrassed. The state of your spiritual evolution shows in your life. Sometimes we forget to experience life situations with a relaxed and joyful heart. Often remind yourself, I experience everything with an open and joyful heart. Especially when our own interests are involved, or when we sense some trouble waiting ahead, we must remind ourselves, my heart is big, and I am unconditional love, like God. By doing so, you will dissolve your difficult situation, in fact, not only dissolve it, but turn it in your favor. Your consciousness will ascend new heights. When you achieve this once, you will continue to do so. We struggle to overcome our limitations, like in the legend of the carpfish jumping over the gate to become dragons. Many of them didn't make it and died trying. Or think of the salmon returning to their birthplace to spawn. This is one of Vancouver's natural miracles. The fish try so hard to travel upstream, jumping up the waterfalls, trying repeatedly. This annual miracle is inspirational to us. We human beings need to cultivate a new consciousness, a higher consciousness. Initially, we may feel inadequate to the task, both physically and psychologically. However, if we succeed in experiencing a higher consciousness just once, we'll taste the feeling of transcending limits. Transcendence is blissful. We need to become accustomed to this new state of being. Let go of negative, repeating thoughts such as, I am sick, I'm a patient. Nobody can cure my illness. Let go of these thoughts. Everything in this world is made of yin and yang, opposite energies. If disease exists, so does a cure. This is certain. If a problem occurs, its solution can be found. It takes the right connection for the two to meet, like someone trying to find a spouse. A man might walk thousands of miles in search of his dream spouse, but it's when he suddenly turns around that he sees his dream wife right behind him. Just like that. Many have found their spouse in this manner. When the energies are such that connection is possible, problems attract solutions. During our journey through life, we need to adjust to our new consciousness. Speaking of adjusting to a new consciousness, I remember how I learned to ski. At the start, I thought maybe I was too old to learn to ski. However, I did fancy the idea. After all, I was living in Canada. On TV, I watched Inuit people in the Canadian Arctic living in igloos, and they inspired me. I decided I shouldn't be scared of skiing. Fearing embarrassment, I climbed the slope at midnight. I didn't even know how to fix the ski boots onto the skis. I put on the boots, put the two skis together and sat on them, and down I glided. When I stopped, the skis were nowhere to be found. No sight of them. They were hard to locate in the deep snow. I had only glided for a minute, but I spent an hour hunting for the skis. Oh, how dismayed I felt. The snow was so deep, and it was very dark out. After I finally found the skis, I was set on attaching them. I tore a piece off my shirt and tried to use the cloth to bind the skis to my feet. A man came over with a flashlight and asked me what I was doing. I'm skiing, I said, but these skis won't stay on. Press your feet down. I heard a click, and then the boots were attached to the skis. Why didn't you show up earlier, I thought. I've already torn up my shirt. But he didn't come too late to prevent me from tearing more. He helped me to stand up and gave me a push. I went down at once, all the way, gliding on my back. A bit like water skiing. No, people on TV don't ski like that. I tried to ask the man for advice in English, but he said, please speak in Chinese. I asked why. He said, I can understand you better in Chinese. What an embarrassment for me. I won't go into further detail. I fell a few more times and soon I was exhausted. Then I went home, my body aching all over. I swore never to ski again. Only unenlightened people like to
滑雪
ski.
那低境界人做的事情。
Why bother with it,
滑这
right?
干嘛呀？是不是？
Isn't
放着
skiing a
好好的
waste of
平路
energy?
不走
Isn't
这
it
不
a
是一
kind
种
of
奢
greed?
侈吗？一种贪婪吗？
I'm a
哎，对，
Dharma
我们修行不
practitioner and
贪
I'm
婪。
not greedy. A
所以一
week
个礼拜
later,
之
my
后，
back stopped
腰也不
hurting.
酸了，背也不痛了，说
I
咱们
thought
再试
maybe
一
I
试
should give it another try. I went up the slope again.
哎，这又上去了。
Not
这
an
上
easy
雪山不
decision.
容易啊
Anyway, I went up the mountain.
又上去了，而
But
且
I
白
didn't
天
dare
不好
go
意思
during the day. I had to
白天
go
晚
in the
上
evening again.
嗯，
This
这是
time
简
it
单
was
了
simple. I
滑雪板
attached
也
the
很容易
boots to the
登上
skis. That part was easy.
啊，你看，这个登上了之后很容易。
Then the
天
weather
公不
turned
作美
bad.
啊，
The wind started to blow.
那个
It
风吹
wasn't
起来，
snowing,
哎，也是不是下雪啊？
but
把
the
有些
wind
树
blew
上
the
有些
snow
雪
off
吹
the
的，
trees,
又是雪花，也搞
and
得
I
眼
couldn't
睛
open
都
my
睁不
eyes
开
in
呀
the snow-filled
哎呀
gusts.
真是讨
So
厌。
annoying. Anyhow, I
想说站
managed
起
to
来，
stand up.
哎，
I
这
saw
次
on
总结
TV
的
that
看
people
电视上
skied
有
with
人
their
背着
hands
手，
behind
哎，
their
我就背
back, and I wanted to try that.
哎呀，背着手滑，
I felt pretty good at the start, but then I fell forward.
就往前摘呀。哎呀，真是这个。
I was
觉得
convinced
我
I
的
had
才
no
能不
talent
是在
for
滑
skiing.
雪上。
The same man that had helped me came over
和
to
那老
me
外还有
again.
缘。哎，
I'd
我这
been on the
算
snow for a
滑了一
while
会儿
now,
了，一
but
阵没
hadn't been on
站
my
起来
feet yet.
又来了。
He greeted me with a smile. Hi,
又
it's
是
you
你啊。
again. I was so
这都
embarrassed.
冤家路窄啊，这个。
But he
哎
had shown
上
me
次
how
我
to attach the boots properly,
帮
so
我
I
就
asked for more
安上鞋
advice.
了，
How
就
can I
原谅
stay
你
on
一
my
次
feet?
啊，而这怎么站起来？很容易
I
过扶
asked
起
him
来
to tell me how to ski.
啊，那怎么滑呀？
He
就是
said, be
大胆
brave
往
and
下
glide.
出溜就可以了。啊，
I felt
真是
bitter
这个
about his
感觉
answer.
好苦，
Just glide down?
好苦。
Easy as that?
那么容易往下出溜啊？
So
那么
I
陡
said,
啊
the slope is so
这
steep
些
that I
刹
might
不
not
住
be
车的
able to
话，
stop. I'll
为
end
了
up
狼都
food
不知
for
道。
wolves.
冲
Look
下
at all
去
those
底下大
trees
森
down
林
there.
啊，什么都没有啊。
That
何
wouldn't
况
be a good
那个
place
地
for
方
me
也
to
不是我
land.
们展现身手的地方，也是哈。哎，
Apparently,
老外
this
气的
guy
也没
didn't
办
like the
法。
fact that I was
他说你
stalling
没有
and
胆
said
量
give
就
up
放弃
then.
吧。啊，
Skiing
这
is for
些
gutsy
给
people.
有一点胆量的，啊。
I
那
didn't
我
like what
也
he said,
就
but
是
I
耐
had
着
to
性
rely
子
on him to help
啊，
me,
人
so
在
I
屋
asked
檐
him
下
gently what
说
sort
话
of
要
people
柔
are
软一点
suited to skiing.
说，哎，那什么样的人适合滑雪呢？
He answered, well,
这样讲吧，他说
my
我妹妹
sister
有
is
点
mentally
丢我妹妹
challenged,
有
but
点
she
缺
can
心眼
ski.
她都能滑。
Oh, if your
妹妹
sister can
你这
ski
傻
and
都
she
能
has
滑。
those challenges. Who am
那
I then
我
if I
是什么
can't?
人啊？啊，
With
我
this
就
in mind, I struggled to
心里
stand up
心惊胆战的哆嗦着站起来，
and
说我
reminded
是
myself
神
of
啊
my God-centeredness. As soon as I stood up, I started to
我
glide.
就想，我赶快就往下滑。
I was afraid that he'd given me another push. I kept in mind that God can do everything. As I whooshed down the slope, all went smoothly. I
直
zoomed
冲的往
down,
下，哗就下去了，
and a
奇迹
miracle
发生。
happened. I didn't
还没
fall.
摔倒啊。
Thanks for your support.
谢谢大家鼓励哈。
Too
你早点
bad I
鼓励多
didn't have
好
your support back
已经
then.
差了
A
好几
pity
年
it's a
了。
few years too late.
哎，
Anyway,
那
I
现在
didn't fall,
下去之后是没摔倒啊。
and I
哎
even
到那
made a
关键时
turn
候
at
我
the
还
bottom
拐
of
个
the
弯儿
hill.
来
Another
拐弯儿
miracle
就发生
occurred
另
when
外
I
一个奇
turned.
迹
I started to
怎么
glide
往
down
下滑
backward. When I saw the place to stop, I simply
到了
turned
停
and
止
should
的
have
地方我就
halted.
拐个弯来，应该停住就好了。
But the
结果
skis
像
were
那个
suddenly like a train that
火车一
changes
样。
direction seamlessly of its own
它不用
accord.
掉过头来，你自己往下跳。 自己往后走开。
Now, I'm telling you
到
this
这
for
个
the
时候，
purpose of spreading
我
Dharma.
是为了继续给大家传法呀。我
So
就不得
yes,
已
I had
趴
to
下
fall again. Again, thank you for your support.
很惭愧。谢谢大家理解。
A hero is
这
not
个英
always
雄
completely
有时候
courageous.
也不是那么勇敢的。
But
但
I'd
是
like to emphasize
就是说
here that I fell
我
on
觉得
purpose.
这
I made
下
myself
摔倒是
fall.
我故意倒的呀，对不对？
I'm
我为了
sharing this story
让
so
更
that
多
you
的
will
人能够
benefit from
受
it.
益于法啊。
This
这不
time I
倒下不
didn't
是摔
fall
倒的
like
呀
before,
啊
rather I fell
但
to
是我
stop
只是
myself
滑
from
了。
gliding backward.
那要滑下去
For
的
if
话，
I'd
现在
kept
不
on
容易说
going,
法
I would not be standing here today.
哎，
I
这
gained
下就给我有
confidence
了
from
信
this.
心。
I
啊
got
我
up
爬起来
quickly
之后，
and
这
felt
信心十足，
God-centered.
咱
God
就是
can do
神呐
everything.
哎，这神就是不一般了，啊，
The God
神
who is
就
me can
基
ski
本上能
now.
滑了。
I climbed up the slope
我又
again
爬
and
上
took a
去
rest.
哎，再上去休息一下。
My
姥姥就
helper
看着我
smiled
笑
at me, asking,
这个
"What
你
did
刚
you
才
shout
喊什么
down
呢
there?" I told him it was
反正你听不
nothing.
懂了。
I
对不对？
said, "You said
你
you
不是
understood my
让我说中
Chinese.
文吗？
Perhaps you can guess what I said."
你猜呀？
He
这
told
老
me
外
he
说
knew
哎
what
那
I
那
had shouted,
那我知道了。
but I
这知
didn't
道啥
believe
呀
him.
傻乎乎的，啊，
Anyway, I
想
wanted to try skiing
再滑
again,
吧，
but I still felt a
心
bit of
里还有点
lingering
哆
fear.
嗦哈。
He said to me, "Try it
再
again.
来一次。
You did really
这
well
老外
last
倒上劲儿
time,
了，
so
再
give
来一
it
次，
another
刚才不
whirl."
错，再来一次。
I
再来
thought,
就
all
再来，
right,
哆
I'll
嗦
show
一会儿
you.
就看。
I stood up, trembling a bit.
别推
I
我
didn't
啊。
want him to push me. I said to myself, God never gets pushed out of the plane when he wants to parachute.
跳降落伞哪有被推下来的？
I encouraged
真是给自己
myself by
打
repeating,
打气
I'm
真的
God-centered and
你
there's
默念
nothing
我
I
是神
can't do.
没有我做不到的。
I've
那
endured
么多的苦
suffering,
难
I've
我都吃
educated
过，
challenging
是不是啊？
students. I'm not
那么
afraid
难
of
带的徒
anyone
弟
or
我都修理
anything.
过，我还在乎你。啊。
After
哎
thinking
给
these
自己
thoughts,
攒足了勇气，憋足了劲儿，
I bellowed,
还是
I'm
大喊着
God-centered.
我是
Then I was
神
ready to descend.
哗就下去了。
My
老外
helper looked at
站起
me.
来看，哎，
I
为什么
looked
我还是
back at
故意回
him.
头看
I
看？
paid close attention to my location
看
in
滑
order
到
to
哪
plan
一段
ahead
了哈，
and
心
know
里
when to slow
直害
down.
怕，什么时候开始刹车？要不
I
又
didn't
滑
want
下去
another failure.
哎，
I
我这
tried
使
to
劲
veer
儿
to
往
my
右
right,
偏，
where the
右边呢
terrain
就
was
是
flatter.
有一个平坦的
Finally,
地
I
方
stopped
啊
without
这
falling.
终于没有摔
Great.
倒，
I climbed up the slope.
真的好，我又爬上了。
My
哎
helper
到
asked
底喊
again,
什么
"What did you shout down there?" I told him, I am God. He said, "Oh, so my sister is God
那是
too
我妹妹
then."
也是了。
I said, "Yeah,
都算
we
都
all
算
are.
你不
You
懂
may
的了
not
这么高的
understand
哲
it,
学
but
你不
it's a
懂啊
simple yet deep
佛
truth.
说，
Buddha
众
said,
生
all
都是
sentient
佛呀
beings are Buddha. Buddha
佛
is
就是
God,
神，神
God
就
is
是佛
Buddha.
了，
All
能滑
skiers
都
are
算
Buddha and God.
啊，不能滑的将来也算啊。
So I practiced a few more times.
哎，我就多滑了几趟，哎，
I'd
等到
gained confidence.
那
I
个这一下
didn't
就有
feel
信心
tired.
了，好像也不累了哈。
He
第二天
next
一大
morning I
早
went up the
啊
slope to practice
我就去
more.
了。
When I
我发
arrived,
现
I was shocked.
哎呀，
I
这
must
个
be a
神
very
做得太
low-level
低级
God.
了。
Only
都是5、6
children
岁
of
小孩
5
的
or 6 years old were practicing on that slope. I
我就
didn't
不
want
好
to
意思在
practice
那儿
there
滑了。
anymore. I sighed,
很
it's
感
not
动
fair.
做人真难。
Little
这个
kids can ski so well, like
大
birds
小孩
flying.
滑的像鸟飞一样，
This
上
world
天
is
太不公
unfair.
平了。
I'm
就
so
我这么大
old.
岁数，
What could I do? I sighed again, and went where the young were practicing. I walked around the bottom. Because the slope was too steep for me, and I didn't feel embarrassed.
走没关系啊，这个本师傅修的也不在乎什么丢不丢人。
I got very tired from walking.
太累的话，啊，也是爬那个大坡。
But the trek gave me confidence.
就知道。
I knew then that the slope wasn't so bad. I wondered whether I should give it another try. The skis were a big investment. So I decided I should. At worst, I'd roll down. I used my old trick and thought I am God-centered. Down I went. I didn't need to worry about stopping that time because I hit something soft, a safety net. It served me well. In Canada, people are very aware of public safety. So in less than 5 minutes, I heard the emergency sirens. Two emergency vehicles attended me. And the staff wanted to know if I was hurt. I was okay. When I was on board, staff wanted to measure my blood pressure, which I didn't want them to do.
等我上去之后，哎，他拿出那个量血压的过来，我就怕这个，啊。
They suggested I go home, thinking I wasn't feeling well. But I wanted to keep practicing. I gave the slope another try, using a squatted position. I didn't hit the safety net. But I fell and rolled a bit. Some parts were really steep, too steep for me. I looked around and saw some skiers falling even harder than I. My falls were minor. I pushed away my fear, determined to continue. In emptiness we come and in emptiness we go. 100 years ago I didn't exist, and I won't exist 100 years hence. Sooner or later I'll be gone. This thought was comforting. I no longer felt afraid. I thought everybody dies. I can die a hero or a coward. Everyone here, cowards and heroes alike, is skiing. What do I have to be scared of? I let go of all other concerns and only focused on skiing. After a few falls, I did well. Even when I did fall, it wasn't a big deal. At least I was still in one piece. The level of consciousness to which I ascended, was it a human's or a deity's? Contemplate it. So many gods were skiing there. Big and little gods. And they inspired me. I told you this story not in order to tell a joke, but to highlight how one can adjust to a new consciousness, no matter how difficult it seems. My skiing was at a kindergarten level. But the important part was my God-centered confidence. The next day when I went back to the slope, I discovered that I wasn't God at all. But the thought of God helped me to overcome fear. Since then I've been able to ski, no matter how steep the slope. I seem to be able to manage, and I fall infrequently. It's interesting that whenever I felt fear, I fell. When I forgot fear, I didn't fall. We can always adjust to a new consciousness. One that at the beginning might seem to be unreachable. Very far away from what we've been accustomed to. Regardless of how high we must reach. We can become one with a new way of being. It's not terribly difficult. When facing new consciousness, our inner critic often whispers, "This belongs to other people. I don't deserve it. One's inner
比如说我用
critic may
很宽
reject
阔
the
的心
idea
胸
of
去待人
compassion, insisting other people are
用
better at
善
that.
念和慈悲待
I'm
人
not
说
that
那不
nice.
是我，那是别人的。
But the
其实
inner
不是
critic lies.
我们知道是这
We
些
all
人
want
好
to
的
live
房
in
子
a
谁都
nice
想住
house, become rich
谁都
and
想变成一个
powerful, and
富人
experience freedom and
一个有
happiness.
钱的人、有权的人，而且还有特别自由的人，活得又很幸福的人，谁都
Everyone
希望
wants
变
those
成这样
things.
子。但
When
是当遇
challenges
到事
occur,
实的事件发生的时候，
it
我
is not
们
the circumstances that block our
不
view
是
of the
被事
truth.
件障碍了，不是被这件事障碍了，是
It
被
is
自
our
己
old
的心
mind
理
that
障
always
碍
gets in the way.
啊。
Let's say
比如说
you
你过
swear a
去经常
lot,
骂
but you
人，
resolve to
那我
quit.
不骂人就是不骂
You'd
人。
need reminders
你
in
给自己
order
时
to
时
stick
提
to your
醒。
resolution.
在
In
古
ancient
代啊，
times, in order
好
to
多人
express determination,
为了表明自己的志向
or
自己的爱
aspiration,
好
or love,
自己的爱憎分明的状况，
people often
常常把
tattooed
自己喜欢的
themselves.
人名字刻刺到自己的身上。
Many
很多
devout
信佛的
Buddhists
人
tattooed
将莲
lotuses
花
or the
刻在
image
心
of
脏部
Buddha
位
in the
将佛
vicinity
像
of the
刻在
heart.
佛的像刻在这个心脏部位的这个皮肤上，
Forehead
更严重的刻
tattoos
在
are another
脑门
way
上
to express an
表明志
aspiration.
向。
Even
今天
today,
中
some
国的
monks in
佛教
China
徒
have
还
their
有在头
scalps
上
burned
烧
with
戒疤。
incense. This may
这
sound
个过程
cruel,
看似很残忍，但
but
是
the
它在表明
scars serve
心
as
智
a
的
way
一
of
个行为。
expressing determination.
那
What
么这个
good does
行为
this
有什么
do?
好处呢？
It
有提
reminds
醒
people of their goal.
尤
Some
其是
choose
把
to
字
tattoo
刻
the
在手
hand.
上的。
As their goals
那你的
evolve, so
境
too
界
do
总
their
是越跨
tattoos.
越的话，你的手
However,
恐
the
怕没那
hand
么
is
大，
too
刻不了
small
那
to
么多
allow
字
many
啊。
tattoos.
比如
Say
你
you
现
want
在
to
是
learn
要
to
我来
ski.
滑雪，
So
我是
engrave,
神，
I am
我
God
是
on
神，
your hand.
就站
These
着个小
words
手指
fit
头
on
这
your
么大
little
的部位。
finger. But
再
if
过
you
一
then
段
want
时
to
间
become a
之后
fast
说我
runner,
是飞
well,
人
a hand
我是
can't
飞
hold
人，
many
这
tattooed
一共
goals.
刻不了几行字。
So be
所以你
careful
刻
if
字
you
的时
want
候
to
要谨
tattoo
慎一
things
点
on your
啊。
body.
到目前我没有
I
刻。
haven't done that so far.
而在
What's
你
more
的心，
important is your heart
你
and
的
mind.
心智
Set
当
a
中自
goal
己
in
确
your
认的
mind.
自己的一个做人的准则，
Then
我觉得
stick to
去
it and
努
work
力的
toward it.
去实现它。
When
尤其是当
situations arise
事物
involving
发
your
生的
own
时候，
interests,
当
act
利
in
益
line
发
with your
生的时候，
principles.
自己随时提醒自己。
I'd like to
我们
recommend
有
a
了一
good
个
way
很
to
好的自我
remind
提醒的
ourselves
方
of the
法，
principles
就
we've
是
set up, write
将
them
这些
down.
励志的语言提醒自己的语言。
What do
你
you
平
use
时拿的东西
daily?
最多的
For
是什么呢？
ladies, it might be
女
a
士提的
purse.
小包包，是
Stick
不是？
slips of paper
你
with
的
your
钱包，
principles written on them.
你要
In
照镜子，
places
小
where
镜
you
子
will
的
notice,
背
like
面
on the back of a compact that you
贴
keep
上
in
去。
your purse, or
每
on the
天
bathroom mirror that
梳
you
妆
look
打
into
扮你的
every
镜子
day.
面前，贴在镜子上一块儿。
At work,
如果
stick a
工
slip
作
of
的话，
paper on your
在
desk.
办公桌面前放一块。
In this
这样
way,
就
you'll be
时
reminded
时
of
都
your
能够
goals and
提醒自己
principles.
你的心智，自我的要求、自我的约束是什么？
Don't be
否则
like
的话，
that so-called
有
kung
时候
fu
因为
master I
武林高手
mentioned. Even though
练
he
的
was
是
very
飞
skilled,
檐走壁，隔山打牛，很厉害。
when
当
facing
敌
the
人一
real
来，
enemy,
真正
he forgot how
血
to
刃
use
相
his
见的时
skills.
候，直接忘了。
They were
我们的境界
disconnected
和
from
这个功
practical
夫完全是
application.
脱钩了，
His
不是
behavior
一个
was
人的东西，
two-faced.
变成两个人。
He was
练武的时候
powerful
凶
during
悍悍的，
practice, but
真
during
交
a
手的
real
时候
fight, he forgot his
就忘
skills
掉
and
了一切武
appeared
功。
powerless.
那么
Many
很多
people
人当
have
遇
this
到真术
problem.
的时候，
We
你的修
often
养
forget
全
our
忘掉了。
principles when faced with real life. That
这样我
doesn't
们的
help
境
us
界
to
是跨
achieve
越不了的。
transcendence.
所
We
以需
must
要去培
cultivate a
养，
new consciousness,
不
no
怕自
matter
己
how
进步慢。
slowly. And we need to
更重要的
constantly
就是
adapt to
时
it.
时提醒自己，去适应这个环境。
That's
做
how
人的
progress
每
is
一步都
made.
是这样子。
It's
尤其是精
important
神
to
境界的
understand
东西。
why and how to
最重要的是，我
transcend
们
the
从
old
这个方法
consciousness.
上和道理上
Then
理
we
解
can
了之
make
后，
real
我们
progress.
的境界才真正的能够提升。
When
所
we
以我们
embark
修
on the
行
journey
同
to
样也是这样
enlightenment,
子。
we
有
find
很多
many
路是可以
paths.
选择的，你
Choose
看你
the
有没有
one
这
in
个机
which you
会，
have faith.
有没有这种信心？我们所谓修行，其
Self-cultivation
实
is
就是
about
想
raising
提高我们
consciousness.
做人的境
If we
界。
stand
我
on
们
higher
做人境界
ground,
高了，其
illnesses
实
don't
疾
seem
病
to
就少
find
了，
us.
因为烦恼少了。
Unpleasant experiences become less frequent because we don't perceive things as
就没有
problems.
了，或
So
者减少
problems
了
disappear.
啊。
We experience
愤怒，
less anger, dissatisfaction,
委屈啊，
depression, fear,
啊，
arrogance.
这个甚至是忧郁啊，还有恐惧、傲慢
All
啊，
these
这
are
等
human
等
frailties.
人类本身啊
They are a
谁都
part
可
of
能会
humanity.
具有的这些弱点，叫
Most
做什么
people
心理
experience
弱
them.
点。
Therefore, very few
能够
people
得
have
到这
become
样智
wise,
慧的
very few have
啊
really
理解人
understood
生
life.
啊智慧的人生境界的人总是极少数。
So
所
when
以
you
如果你
encounter a
一旦
wise
靠近的
person,
时候，
or
你觉得
when
你
you
正
sense
在
that you're
走进
becoming wise,
这个缘分，
seize
那你
the
就要让自
opportunity
己的
by
心
opening your
再
heart
开放一
wide,
点，
by
让自己的
relaxing
身
your
体放得
body and
更松一
mind,
点，让
which
自
will
己
allow
全
you to
方位
receive
地
the
去
energy
接
and
受这
wisdom
种智慧
totally.
和能量，
Let
让智
this
慧
energy and
和能
wisdom
量
become
和
one
自己
with
的
your
生
own
命
life.
合二为一，啊，
Then
那
your
你这个
existence will
人
indeed
生
be
的境界
wonderful.
真的就是非常高，非常的精彩，
Your
就
high
将我们
level
的
of
很多的
consciousness
苦
will dissolve any
就
potential
破解
suffering.
掉了。
I'll
好，
let these be my parting
就
words.
这样吧，
Thank
谢谢
you.
大家。
Stronger faith brings greater energy. By Meditation Master Jinbodhi.